Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday meditation gathering. It's so nice having you all here together. Today, we have Peter Parr, who will lead us in meditation, and then we have 20 minutes of silence. After that, we're going to open it up for sharing, and we end at 10:45. Over to you, Peter.
Thank you, Dan. Great to be here. So I want to focus today on a lesson which the title of which actually appears 3 times in A Course in Miracles. I am as God created me. And as well as those 3 workbook lessons, 94, 110 and 162, the same theme also features in other lessons as well. For example, in lesson 219, we have, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. And I feel we need these reminders for when we forget that God created us, we forget what we are. And when we forget what we are, we forget what we have within ourselves, love and peace and joy. And that forgetting leads us to pursue a futile journey to find those things outside of ourselves. Remembering that we are as God created us is a step in our coming to our senses and returning to our true home. I am as God created me. What is the I am that is as God created it? It's our essence, our truth, our being. It's the true self, the Christ self, the eternal self, that in us which cannot be threatened and which alone is real. In the Bible, I am is a name for God. And Jesus spoke of this true self when he said in John's Gospel, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Before Abraham was, I am, and I am the light of the world. But the I am, the Christ self, isn't limited to the person of Jesus. Indeed, in the course, as one of the lessons, we ourselves are encouraged to realise, lesson 61, I am the light of the world. I am as God created me. What is the nature of the self which God created? The self which I am, the self which you are, is created in the image and likeness of God. As A Course in Miracles puts it, love created me like itself. Holiness created me holy. Or we might say, wholeness created me whole. We have an image of ourselves as separate, apart from our Creator, confined within a body, a fragment cut off from the whole. And at an unconscious level, at least, we carry guilt for the original sin of separating ourselves from God and for acting apart from God or without love. But these are false impressions. We are still at home, but dreaming of separation. What God creates must carry within it the genes, the qualities, the essential nature of God. So, what are these qualities? God is the all in all, unlimited. Where does the I am that I am end and the I am which God is begin? Where does the I am which God is end and the I am which you are start? There is only one I am, one child of God. And if the I am is everywhere, it is also every when galaxies collide and stars explode, the I am is still the I am. Nothing real can be threatened, and nothing can cause being to cease to be. And fundamentally, God is love. It's not that God is loving, rather God is love, the source of love, and in the Holy Spirit, the movement of love. If you are as God created you, you are an expression of love. As the Course wonderfully puts it, God is but love, and therefore so am I. Whatever we might have done or left undone, whatever choices we've made, nothing can alter the truth of our being. We are still as God created us. We are eternally God's Son. When I meditated on the words in lesson 94, I am as God created me, I am his Son eternally, I was reminded of the parable of the Prodigal Son in Luke's Gospel. And I'd like to briefly share a few reflections on that parable. The story of the prodigal son is the story of humanity and the story of each of us. We have left our home and dwell in a faraway state where we waste our divine inheritance on self-centered living. But in this physical world, nothing lasts. Times of plenty give way to times of famine. The things we built our identity around, possessions, relationships, our job, our health, fail us, and we begin to be in need. We realize, eventually, that the path we have chosen cannot sustain us. Sooner or later, we feel starved. The prodigal son is every human being, bewitched by the temptation to separate himself from his father in order to lead his own independent existence. Disappointed by the emptiness of the mirage which had fascinated him. Alone, dishonoured, exploited when he tries to build a world all for himself. Sorely tried, even in the depths of his own misery, by the desire to return to communion with his Father. You may be surprised to hear that those words are the words of Pope John Paul II. When finally we come to our senses, we may feel like the prodigal son, ashamed and unworthy of love. But our Father has not condemned us. He waits with an open door and outstretched arms for us to return our hearts and minds to him. To take us into our time of meditation, I'd like to share the prayer from lesson 226 of A Course in Miracles. My home awaits me. I will hasten there. Father, my home awaits my glad return. Your arms are open, and I hear your voice. What need have I to linger in a place of vain desires and shattered dreams, when heaven can so easily be mine? Let us remember in this time together, I am not the self I made. I am as God created me. I am God's child eternally. I am worthy. I am whole. I am loved. And I am love.
Open your eyes slowly and come back into the room. We have 15 minutes left for sharing your reflections and your questions. If you'd like to speak, raise your hand or use the reactions button at the bottom of the screen, and I'll invite you to take yourself off of mute. And if you'd like to ask Peter a question or a comment with confidentiality, put your message in the chat function at the bottom of the screen, and I'll read it out. Norman.
Thank you very much indeed. Excuse me. Thank you very much indeed, Peter. I felt in your introduction, it was myself talking to myself, and it was just what I needed. I must admit, yesterday I found a bit harsh, but everything you said gelled with me, and it gave me an impression when I started to meditate that if I could join with you in that way, why can I not join with everyone? And I felt a great warmth envelop me, thinking about I am, how I would relate to the great I am. And I had this warmth was in every fabric of my being, not just my mind, but my body, clothes I was wearing, the seat I was sitting in, the room I was in, they all just more or less disappeared. But I was aware of their presence, but I was also aware that the I am was quite literally in everything, absolutely everything. So I'm just flabbergasted and gratefully thankful. I'm shaking a wee bit again, but I'm very, very grateful for you being here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Norman.
We'd like to, Dennis, take yourself off mute.
Thank you, Peter, for that timely reminder. When I first started to meditate, it was called the occult, and I was reminded of the story of the Prodigal Son. At one time, I was surrounded by light, 1,000 suns, and like the last person, it went through me and warm, and it was warm, it wasn't hurting. And I had a mind-to-mind conversation with this being of light. And it finished up. I asked, "Who are you?" And the answer back was, "I am your own true self." With that, I became a stone, a blade of grass, the whole of the universe. And then I came back into my room with tears running down my eyes. Thank you for that reminder.
Thank you, Dennis.
We'd like to share. John, take yourself off mute.
Yes, thank you so much, Peter. I can echo what's been said already because for whatever reason, I really needed that this morning. When I woke up this morning, I was not in my eye. I don't know what it was, but it was such a beautiful reminder in the story of the prodigal son, such a great analogy. And wow, and I do need these reminders. It doesn't matter how much I do this stuff, I can still get thrown back. Or the ego, I think the ego wants that, doesn't it? You know, as I understand. But that was a lovely reminder. And I think I've thought a lot about those words, I am, since I've been on this journey, you know. And I am very much more mindful these days of what I use after those words, because I was taught that they are two of the most powerful words as human beings that we can actually utter, because whatever comes afterwards, we're claiming that that is our essence. So it was a beautiful reminder, and it also came up in my mind how interesting I find it that when I started to learn the Spanish language, which I find a beautiful language here in Spain, really interesting that they actually have two verbs for to be. They have one which refers to the eternal, which is the I am, my I am essence. That is a separate verb, and you only use it for eternal thing. And they have another verb which refers to I am hungry, or I'm tired, or all of that. And I thought, that's really interesting. And I think I might think of a verb that we could use. I might create another verb that we can use. So thank you so much. I feel very much peaceful. That's lovely. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Yeah, sometimes other languages can shed slightly different light on things just through the different ways they have of phrasing things, or more than one word for different aspects of the same thing. That's so yeah, that's helpful. I think I don't know. Am I right in saying in Spanish that it's probably not pronounced the same, but there's a word sin or san, which is without.
Yes.
So it's like, yeah. It's like for me, sin is being without love, or acting without love, without God, and nothing more than that.
Yeah, it's very, thank you for reminding me, because when I was learning, I kept getting mixed up with sin and con. You know, sin is without, con is with. I kept thinking that, do I want sin sugar or con sugar, or sin milk or con milk? And then I used this, actually. I thought, how can I make this easy for me to remember? And I just thought, well, I am without sin. And from then on, I always remembered that sin was without. So, thank you.
Who'd like to share? Jim, take yourself off mute.
Thank you, Dan. Yes, thank you, Peter. That was a beautiful, a beautiful look at the I am, and following on from what John was saying, it is a bit difficult with English because we use I am so often, and we always add something to it, or almost always add something to it, and we believe what we add to it. About half an hour before this meeting, some workmen turned up outside the office here, and they put a big barrier around a hole they needed to dig. There was just about room for a car to get through, but nothing else. And of course, we get larger vehicles coming here from time to time. I was quite anxious when I saw this, and when I spoke to the man, I could sense agitation in me about the fact that important vehicles wouldn't get through. And anyway, he explained that it was only there for half a day while they inspected what was under that particular piece of road. Anyway, afterwards, I recognized that basically the belief was, I am anxious. Although those words weren't being sounded, they were, in fact, what were governing me at that moment. I am anxious. And I spoke from anxiety rather than from a still point. And I find it useful to say, I am, and anxiety is present. So that it's not denying the anxiety, but it's denying that I am that anxiety. So there isn't a way in English, as far as I'm aware, apart from making up our own phrases, that separates the I am from what follows it. We always have to do something in our mind to separate the two. And for me, I am and anxiety is present is one way of doing that. And I was able to use that this morning, and I could just say, anxiety. But the immersion in it was dissolved by that. And so it's very useful, very good to hear you speak about it this morning, and how important it is to always remember the I am is always present. Whatever we say about ourselves, I am always starts off. And if we stop at I am and then recognize anything that goes beyond that or follows it is something that we are not, but it's something that is present, then I find that very helpful. So very helpful, very useful, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, it's really helpful to be able to draw a distinction between what we are in our essence, in our eternal nature, and what we may experience, but which doesn't define us. The anxiety, as you say, is present. The emotion is present, but that is something which is, we know that we experience anxiety for a limited amount of time, and then the situation passes and we no longer experience that. The I am is constant. The I am is not affected by these changing circumstances or states of mind. But yeah, as you say, really helpful to separate out who we are from what we may be experiencing in any moment.
Thank you. Sandy, take yourself off mute.
Thank you. I've been doing a lot with this at the moment, so that's been really, really wonderful to have that this morning. And
Sandy, could you get closer to your thingy?
Is that better?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I've been working a lot with this at the moment, and so it's been a really nice, timely reminder just to go a little bit deeper with it. And I'm really resonating with what everybody is saying this morning. And it just reminded me that the Buddhists have a way of saying, if you have pain or anything, you don't say I am experiencing pain or anything like that. You say I have pain or I have anxiety, so that you actually separate that out from the I am. So you're detaching it from the pure essence of who you are, and just, you're not denying what you're experiencing, but you're not attaching it to the I am presence of ourselves. So I find that quite handy to use sometimes, is just to say I have something rather than I am something. So I thought I'd just share that one. But thank you for a wonderful meditation. That was really, really beautiful.
Thank you, Sandy.
Who'd like to share? Angela, take yourself off mute.
Hi, everyone. Peter, thank you for that lovely lead into the meditation, and for the lovely meditation and the I am. And as people have been saying, different ways about this I am. I'm trying to remember to say I feel anxious, or I feel tired, or like you said, Sandy, I have pain. But it's such a habitual thing, the I am. It takes some concentration to, it hasn't come easily to me yet to just naturally say I feel or I have. But when you said the lesson, I always have either a smile or a gasp when that lesson comes round. Because 4 years ago, when Terry had a heart attack, the lesson was, my home awaits me, I will hasten there. And you read out a little quote from it. Why should I stay in a world that whatever else comes next? And I thought on the day, oh my God, he's taken it literally. he's off. So, but it crossed over then. It was overnight event. And the next day's lesson was, this is my holy instant of release. I can laugh about it now. At the time, it was all, oh my goodness. But anyway, it just makes me smile. So it's nice to be able to smile and laugh about something like that happened. But it's during the meditation, I had a revelation of a different understanding. You mentioned the word Son of God, and you're talking about the prodigal son. And there's always been many people, women, conversations I've had over the years about using the male gender, the son, the brother and father and all of that. But I suddenly had this realization, I suppose, that son is being used as a different meaning. It's kind of a generic thing, like it means extension of God. And it came to me about electricians. I don't even know what the things are called. I didn't get the chance to ask you, Terry, about, you know, when there's something that plugs in and something that receives it. They're called male and female. Some handymen may know the male and female connections, but because I would call them a male and female connection, I don't make them women and men. So it's just a description of their function. And it came to me that son is a description of my function. It's not a description of my gender. So it felt far more acceptable, I suppose, you know, because we often, I have often included like brothers and sisters, you know, just to include both genders, but it's actually not referring to gender at all. It's referring to function, and son just being an extension of God rather than a gender. So anyway, that was for me, I know, and I don't know if I'm explaining it very well, but it certainly made a different attitude to it for me. And thank you, Peter, for everything this morning. It's been wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. That's me.
Thank you for sharing, Angela. Yeah, I think in that the lesson that I read at the end, my home awaits me. I only read the prayer part of the lesson, but I think the first part of it begins something like, it is not death which makes this possible, but it is a change of mind about the purpose of the world. My home awaits my glad return. Yeah, in terms of the gender, if we were created in the image and likeness of God, God has no gender. It's yeah, this we are spirit, as it says in another lesson in the course. Just as an aside, it was very powerful. Sometimes it can be powerful to vary the pronouns or just change little words. So when I read out the whole parable, rather than say riotous living, I may, because I could easily say, well, I don't live riotously. I'm quite conservative with the small c in the way I kind of live my life, perhaps, but certainly self-centered. But it was a really powerful experience I had one time at a workshop I attended, where we, in groups of 3, we were asked to kind of reenact the parable. One of us, but it wasn't father, younger son and elder son, it was mother, younger daughter and elder daughter. And just that little change, and then we each entered into the role and kind of emotionalized the feelings that we were experiencing. But just even that little change made us look, or many of us look at it with fresh eyes.
Yes, I can understand how that would be, and it's my own personal opinion that I think women find it easier to embrace the other gender. I imagine, this is my own personal imagination, that A Course in Miracles, if it was written in daughter, I think men would find it more difficult to accommodate that. Daughter, mother, sister, and no mention of male at all. But that's just my own personal opinion, which may be contentious.
Okay, we've come to the top of the hour. Thank you, Peter, for the wonderful reminder of who we truly are. And everyone take themselves off of mute and show your appreciation to Peter.
Thank you,
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Great job. Great job.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.